to our live. Today I have the fabulous, the absolutely, I don't know how to even put words to it, babe. You're a 8 figures on Amazon. You're a mother of two. You're an inspiration to so many. You know how to connect deeply with an audience. You know how to work with influencers to really amplify a brand. You are incredible at all things product development, working with China, and you look like that. I mean, really, are you even real? Are you a unicorn? Do you even exist? What, babe?
I was saying, where's my filter? I need that on. But no, thank you for the introduction. Lovely. It's great to be here with you. I'm excited to talk about China. As you well know, China Magic changed my business in a huge way. So I'm sure we'll get into that. And obviously, I was over in China earlier this year, and I got to see the transformation that the attendees there saw in their businesses and all their wins. So yes, I'm very excited about that. Yeah, all things branding, product development is what I love most. So, yeah, and obviously building audiences, driving that traffic, all of those kind of things. So, yeah.
I am excited about this. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. How did you get started with Amazon? How did that happen?
Sure. So I actually, prior to being in the Amazon world, I ran a couple of educational businesses in Australia, which I'd sold at the time. I think 2017, I started looking at Amazon. So just sold my businesses. I think my girls were like 1 and 3 at the time, or not even that. And I didn't have that much to do. So my sister came to me and said, "Oh, do you want to sell on Amazon?" And because I'm in Australia, at that point, Amazon wasn't really a thing over here. So I was like, isn't Amazon just books? And so anyway, I started going down that sort of rabbit hole, finding out more, watching YouTube videos. I went, oh, this is a really good opportunity. Obviously, given that I've been in business before, run businesses with numbers like quite large staff, etc. I was like, wow, this doesn't, like, compared to traditional business, this seems relatively easy. Now, I know that people in the Amazon world will laugh at me when I say that, but in terms of, getting up and running and investment you need and all of that sort of stuff, I was like, well, it seems like a really good idea. So we jumped into business together. We started selling. We found something that we were passionate about. So we started a brand that we were both sort of in love with, and we found it easy to find our audience and really drill into that branding piece of it. And then we launched in 2018. So we began selling on Amazon then, with lots and lots of learnings along the way, and how not to do things on a lot of instances, but we were able to turn it around with amazing communities like Titan, which came out of China Magic, etc. So yeah.
Amazing. I love that. Okay, so then I met you in Austin, Texas.
You did.
You knew the power of events so much so that you traveled across the entire world to attend an event in Austin, Texas, where you and I met. And I think I invited you to a dinner that I was hosting.
Yeah.
Is that right? Okay, cool.
So we were introduced through a mutual contact, and he said, "I think you should meet Athena," and I did, and yeah.
And the rest is history. Now we've traveled the entire world together with Dan and Lyden and all our amazing friends, and have changed a lot of lives, and it's been incredible. So let's talk about the specifics of China. Obviously, Amazon isn't what it was a few years ago. Yep. And from what we see, doing the sort of slap a label on it type vibe is just really, really outdated. And I think from the beginning, you've always been very interested in product development and creating unique. I mean, I'm obsessed with your brand and your products. So first, can we talk about brand and creating things that people are in love with?
Yeah, sure. So the space has changed a lot. I was lucky at the start to be following someone that said, you can sell anything if you have an audience. So that sort of, at the time, it was very much, numbers focused, what you're going to sell. But I was like, well, what if we built an audience about something that we're passionate with, and then we create products that solve a problem for them. Why don't we try that? And everyone at the time would have did when I told them what we were selling, were like, why are you doing that? It's competitive. It's all of these sorts of things. But we were like, well, we like it. We're building an audience. We're building a list of people to sell it to. So let's go down that. And we're doing something different in terms of differentiation. We were eco-friendly, sustainable, pretty, all of those sorts of things. It was products that we would buy ourselves. And so we truly believed that if we put a brand together like that, we would be able to gain traction, which was the case. So we never went down the route of just get the product off Alibaba, put a logo on it and send it in. We've always been about really designing for a specific audience, talking to that audience and bringing that through every touch point of the product and of our brand voice. So everything from copy, imagery, what they feel when they unwrap the product, all of those sorts of things, to really drive that brand experience home and create a 5-star brand and product.
I love that. And so then I remember when I talked to you about China and you're like, yes, that sounds great, but you weren't able to make that trip because you had I think it was something important, like a wedding or what was it, babe?
It was a wedding, so family wedding.
It was a family wedding, and you almost didn't go to that specific China just because you had like a schedule conflict. And I remember being like, you need to come, it's going to change your life. And we even had you not come to the first, few days. And then when you got there, we caught you up. We had Keen sit down with you. Can you describe to people what going to China Magic was like for you as an established Amazon seller?
Yeah. So I think where I'd already been to China by myself, sort of with another group prior to that. So at the time that we spoke, I did want to go back to China. I knew that it was important to build relationships with suppliers, and obviously get over to the Canton Fair, see new product opportunities, all of that sort of stuff. But I'd done it myself. I was like, oh, that's fine. I'll just go and do it again. But then I spoke to you and I was like, well, it would be better to go in a group, wouldn't it? So I was like, okay, that sounds good. Obviously, we had that conflict with the wedding on and that my mum wouldn't let me get out of. But then you were like, no, that's fine. Just come halfway through. I'm like, okay. So I actually came along to China Magic. And you'd said to me, there are mentors there. You'll get coaching along the way. We do all of these sessions at night. And I'm like, that sounds good. Not really what I'm like. I know what I'm doing. I'm just going over there. I'll get on with what I need to do, but it'll be better to be in a group of people. So that's cool. So, anyway, signed up, came over to China. At the time, we were going to Hong Kong in between. So I think I met you guys in Hong Kong. And the first night I walked in, so there was a session that night, 2-3 hour session, content session. I walked in and I walked out of that session. I was like, how have I been doing Amazon for this many years and I didn't know any of that stuff? So I went and I implemented, the first few days, I implemented some things to our business in our listings and content and all of that sort of stuff that saw our sales sort of literally in the space of a day go up $1,000. So that was pretty incredible. That sort of paid for the trip very quickly. And then obviously along the way as well, things like supplier negotiation. Now I know people are more aware of it in the space now, but the negotiation tactics I've been taught was, just ask if you can have better terms. And so I said to my supplier, I'm like, can I get, better supplier terms? And they're like, okay, we'll do 20/80. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So that's the extent of the training I'd had. So obviously, I think we'd missed Leiden's training because we weren't at the event at that time. So he, once again, Kian sat down with us, Leiden sat down with us to go through supply negotiation as well. And I was like, wow, because I'd been to, at the time, you guys came in and said, okay, what's your pain point in your business, or what do you want to fix, or like, what do you really what would really help you? And at the time, it was cash flow. Well, as all of you guys know, in Amazon, cash flow is key to scaling your business. So we were like, oh, we need to get cash, we need to get outside investment, all of that sort of thing. So that's what we were looking at. But after we spoke with Leiden and went to approach our supplier in the way that he teaches, and put together a presentation, we were able to then go on to scale our brand to, I think it was sort of $5 million a year without getting external investment, just by getting better supplier terms and leveraging that relationship to grow that way. So that was obviously huge for us. And so, one of the areas I know that just helps so many of the people within Titan and people that have learned that way of negotiating with suppliers, and a win-win for both the supplier and you as a brand as well. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, woman, that's incredible. I love that. So, one thing I'd love to sort of talk about is the difference between China Magic and pretty much everything else out there. Because there's people that go on their own, right? There's people that go with other groups that, some of them haven't been doing it as long as we have, and some of them, go with like service providers or people. Maybe there's one expert, but there's a difference between that and what we're providing in terms of the level of expertise and the fact that we bring so much strength when it comes to like actual Amazon, and the people who are mentoring are leaders within Titan, which we'll get to. But like yourself, you started off as an attendee. I saw that you were always very willing to help. You were scaling very rapidly. You had so much talent when it came to influencers and the way that you would market. And my job is to recognize that talent mixed with a heart of gold and how giving you were, and ask you to please, be a mentor later on. Once your business had scaled, you'd done over 8 figures on Amazon. You were obviously like a poster child for everything that we do. And so when I asked you to be a mentor, you were open to that. And fast forward all these years, not only have you done it yourself, but now you've actually helped so many people over the last 4.5 years deal with all kinds of barriers and problems and issues and strengths, and you've seen what wins and what doesn't win. So your level of knowledge, not just as a seller, but having mentored so many people through, really is a different level. So you were, there just now in April. Can you talk about the quality of the mentors that we bring through, including Lyde, Kian, and everybody else?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, yeah, you said China Magic's been around a while. I think, what is this now? How many trips?
This is the 8th trip. Yes.
So you know what you're doing when you go to China, and how to sort of navigate not only the fair, but just generally, which is so important. I think I heard, what was it, Eric's experience that he spoke about, or I don't know what happened, but anyway, it sounded like a horrendous experience. Before, I said I'd gone to China by myself, sort of with a group before. So we'd catch up at night. We had a bit of a half-hour session on how to navigate the fair, but that was it. And there wasn't any, what I think makes China Magic stand apart is it's like that hand holding. So, and it's that instant feedback. And just, I went to the fair today, I spoke to these suppliers, this is what they said, how do I deal with that? Or, when we were back there, we were going to the stands, and to suppliers. So if people were like, oh, we need you to come and help us with this supplier, whether it's to get an exclusivity agreement, whether it's to see if you can get better pricing, or if they can, differentiate the product for us, how we need it to be done. All of these things that people going for the first time, the fair's overwhelming. And even if you've been there a couple of times, it's so huge. There are so many people there. I think it's just that, really instant, this is what I need right now to get the most that I can out of this trip, and just having the expertise within the team that we take over to China, to be able to help those people achieve their goals and get them done really fast. I mean, I think everyone on the trip in April all had wins, and significant ones that would significantly impact their business. So, as I said, things like obviously amazing supplier terms, and we would go along with, and we'd get people exclusivity agreements, or
That's
able
crazy.
to.
Like, let's stop for a second there, Georgie. Tell me what an exclusivity agreement does for people.
Sure. So it gives you some time. It would be going to a supplier, and if they've got a brand new product coming out, or they're currently selling something, but say it's not in the US market, which is where you want to sell, you can negotiate with them to make sure you're the only seller that has access to that product. Now, it might be continuously, so forever, or it could even be a 6 or 12-month period that they say, okay, for 6, 12 months, you are going to be the only seller that is able to buy that product from us and sell it in the US. So that obviously gives you that time, as people would know. It's speed to market when it comes to selling on Amazon is one of the key areas. And the longer you can give yourself some time to sort of build that moat around the product that you have, because with 6 to 12 months, even if it goes open market from there, you've given yourself a chance to sort of build up that review moat and really sort of set yourself up, build the ranking, all of those types of things before other competitors come in with the same sort of products as you do. So yeah, I'm actually surprised at how many people have been able to negotiate these types of agreements. And we did see it a lot in April, that people were able to negotiate to get that exclusivity agreement with their suppliers.
I love it. It's so fun. Like, you're in this wonderland of potential. Like, there's all these products everywhere. And then you go past the booth and like something catches your eye, and then you walk in there and then you talk to the person. And if you really build the rapport, like, I remember I'd look at the booth, but then I'd look at the person. You know what I mean? And if the person seemed like someone I'd really want to get, and then watching Kian and seeing the magic this man can create. I mean, like, and you too, I mean, all of you. And then it's really special. Like, if people haven't done this yet and they're selling on Amazon, there's so much potential there in terms of products, negotiations, the exclusivity. I think that thing by itself is so huge, because then you're first to market. What were you going to say, babe?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, along with that as well, I think it was part of our trip is we spent one-on-one time with pretty much everyone at the fair, going to their suppliers and chatting with them. And even if you haven't been before, seeing how like Kian or Leiden will speak with the suppliers, the types of questions they ask, how quickly they build that relationship up, is pretty incredible. So that's obviously not something you get a lot of the time with other groups, or if you're going by yourself, you don't get a chance to be able to see that. So it gives you the confidence to go out there and speak to the suppliers like they are. And yeah, coming across with that confidence obviously gives you a level, I suppose it makes you look to the supplier like you really know what you're doing, and like someone that they believe is going to be a great seller who they'd like to work with as well. So yeah, I think that's really good.
I love that. And you're right. I mean, there can sometimes be little tweaks, little questions that people ask, the way that they, present their business card. But it's not just that. Like, that's a simple thing to learn. When you hear Ken speak and he's talking about threads, or he's talking about zippers, or he's talking about anything, like, you can tell this guy is an absolute wizard. I mean, he sources for the NFL, the NBA, the Olympics, Google. Not just that, but he's also grown up in this industry of sourcing because his own family has the most amazing outdoor brand. So he's a savant. He's like a creature in his own sort of category, Ken. And then you have Lied, and Lied has been across so many product categories, so many brands. He's had to negotiate. I mean, we ourselves, between the brands that we own, as well as the brands that we help manage, as well as the Titan network. I mean, the amount of knowledge and experience, as well as helping to run all of these China Magics, he's very uniquely qualified. And that's the thing, like, each one of the people on this trip are so uniquely qualified to give people what they need in such a short time that they would not figure out on their own. Like, it would take years and years of experience to build up to that level where you're having that conversation. And these guys are professionals. I mean, if you're exhibiting at the Canton Fair, it is not a cheap thing to do. Most of the people there are established factories. It's also not easy to get in. There's a waiting list to be able to present. So these people, a lot of times they've had this, they've been suppliers for generations, right? So you're not talking to some like new baby that's like, oh, please, can you have my business, right? And you might find that on Alibaba. You also find a lot of third-party sellers on Alibaba that might be fresh, they might be new. But I've watched it, and the people who are there, they are professionals, and they want to work with people who are professional, but also that they have amazing connection with. They're looking for a business partner the same way that we would be looking for a partner. And so the more you can present yourself as an expert, even if you're new, like you don't fake it. That's another thing. Like some people think you just go in there and you're like, I'm this big brand, and I've seen people make that mistake too.
Yeah.
That doesn't work either, right? But Georgie, like you were an up and coming brand. You'd already done millions on Amazon, but you knew you had so much more room to grow, and you wanted to create that growth together. Is that kind of the vibe?
Yeah, 100%. So I just want to say as well, Kian, I mean, I've known Kian and Lyden both for, 4 years now. And every time I see Kian speak, whether it's on a huddle, he'll come along to our huddles sometimes and talk about product development and sourcing, or whether it's in China. Every time I listen to him, I'm like, oh, I learned something new. So it doesn't matter how many times or how well you know Kian, there's always something else there. He's like so knowledgeable. It's insane. And lied with the negotiation. He can negotiate anything. So
Yeah, and then you are so humble, like what you have accomplished and how well you understand it. When you speak about these different topics on, branding, connecting with audience, like here's the thing, people didn't give that enough weight. They didn't give that enough like significance. It's even more recently that people are really catching on to that. But like if you have a vibe with an audience, you are unstoppable because you're bringing that outside influence in. And obviously the algorithm loves you for it. But it's not just that, you get like a real following. And I don't know about you, but I'm like a brand girl, like if I find some sort of makeup or, hair things or clothes or whatever, like I search my sunglasses by 3 brands. They're the only 3 brands I look at. I don't even look, to get my business, you have to be specific, right? And I think that women, I mean, I think men as well, like once you kind of find what you're looking for, so when you win that audience, the products you can sell those same people, it opens up the entire world. And so you are an expert in that, and having you on this trip is significant. And not just that, but for the women out there, the fact that you've been able to do this as well as raise your daughters, and finding that balance as well as being a Titan leader, like a lot of women are very inspired and look up to you for that, babe. And I super appreciate you being out there and like, having that torch. And that, let's go into this. Okay. You and I both like nice things.
yes.
We're both very feminine, and we do not like to be in yucky places.
No.
Eat yucky food. We don't want to be any
when I was in my 20s, so no, I don't do that anymore.
Right. And so one of the things that I think we bring through with China Magic is also my background in terms of red carpeting people, because I came from Hollywood background. And so when we get there, I went on my own as well a couple times. You know the story. I got lost and I was with a stripper and a Mormon college student girl and an entrepreneur, like the 3 of us wandering the streets of China. It was insane. And I remember in that moment going like, I wish that I had a trip that was planned where somebody could help direct us. So we have Kirsty, who's phenomenal, and she helps everyone with their visas, booking everything. We actually have certain flights that we, try to get everyone on. You don't have to go on the group flights, but if you feel more comfortable, if you want to, it's so fun to arrive at the airport looking for each other, and then you're on the trip and you get to start talking to the people and connect with them right away. And it's like I get goosebumps, like you're going on an adventure, right? And so when you get there, we have the Four Seasons picking us up. And then when you arrive, like there's amazing breakfast. Like the place is stunning. The food at night is phenomenal. It's all included. Like everything is so gorgeous. In fact, I think I was with you. I'm not sure if it was you or Samantha, but I remember walking into that breakfast in the morning where you can see just it's so much light and everything is just so beautiful, and seeing all the happy people like connecting and talking to each other, which makes me high. But I remember just standing there going like, wow. And I think it was you. It might have been Sam. Anyway, one of you was with me, and I said, I wish this was real life. And I think it was you who looked at me and said, this is your real life. And I was like, yes, I love this, because it's magic between the expertise. And then I think there's a lot to be said about having the organization. You guys do a lot of factory visits as an example. Can you talk about that? Oh my God, that's such a great part.
Yeah. So what we found, going back to China this year, we used to go over to Hong Kong in between the phases. So we go phase 2 and phase 3 at Canton Fair. In between, used to go over to Hong Kong because they had global sources at that point. They're not running that, so it doesn't work this time. But what we trialed in April was making sure that the attendees coming over were organising their factory visits for the period between the stage 2 and stage 3 of Canton Fair. So they had, like, obviously stage 2, we are in the conference room every night. We've got content specific to sourcing, product development, all of that sort of stuff. So you've got a lot of opportunity to connect with all the mentors and leaders there at the time to really set yourselves up, and with the pre-work as well that you do pre-coming to the event. All of that's to set you up to have the most successful factory visits that you can have. So you've got people like Kirsty, you've got the hotel concierge, will obviously help you. And factories over there are great. If you want to go and visit them, they're very, very helpful usually in trying to get that organised for you as well. So you've got all of these people to assist you with getting to your factory safely, making sure you have a good experience there, plus making sure that you have everything in place to get the most out of those factory visits. So whether you're speaking to them about supply terms, which I obviously encourage everyone to do, there are other like new products that you want to get developed really quickly. I mean, in the space of a day with your supplier, you could line up, your next 6-10 products that you want to launch and go quickly back and forth. Things that would take months to do over phone, sending samples, all of those sorts of things can get done so quickly. So yes, those factory visits were really a highlight for people coming along to China. They were all set up to go and get the most out of them, and they came back with huge wins from all of their factory visits. So yeah, that was a real highlight of the trip as well. And then they're able to come back. We've got phase 3 again. And then they could refine anything. So if there was anything that had come out of the factory visits that they weren't too sure how to deal with them, obviously they then had us there to speak with them about it and make sure that they could get them any other issues sorted with their factory before leaving China as well. Also, I mean, as you said, we stay at the Four Seasons, which is an incredible hotel, and you'll find a lot of suppliers as well. I've had suppliers that haven't been displaying at the Canton Fair, but they've been happy to travel. They'll come and meet me at the Four Seasons, bring anything I need as well. So throughout the trip, you can also organise that as well. It's a nice space, obviously looks very professional staying somewhere like that too. So yeah, so they were some good things that came out.
I will tell you some inside scoop from talking to the actual suppliers that they also judge the people by where they stay.
Probably.
100%.
We probably do the same, right? So
of course, I mean, if a supplier invites you to like a 3-star hotel, you're kind of like, ooh, I don't know if this is a professional, because if they're willing to invest in, it's just people know you by your environment. And yeah. I think that when we say where we're staying, you just see their eyes kind of light up a little bit and just know that we're pros. And we are freaking pros, aren't we, girl? We just get in there and we get it done. I met my supplier that does all of the hats, and I get so many compliments. So many people want my freaking hat. Like, they have nothing to do with Titan or Amazon, but they just love this hat. And I found that hat supplier who's actually visiting Kian, and I met them at the Four Seasons and we chatted, and now they do like all this cool leather things that we have, which I just love so much. So anyway, you never know who you're going to meet, what's going to happen from it. But here's just another thing. Sometimes people, when they're more successful, they don't give enough validity to the value of certain things. And I had one guy, he was doing 85 million a year. You know him, Moshe. Yeah. From Brooklyn. And he came to China Magic, and he was ridiculously blown away by all of it. You know, he was very professional. Obviously, he built his business almost to 9 figures. Who knows how much he ended up selling it for? Like, he's a genius, right? But seeing him interact with Kian and learning from Kian and going and like, I think that that one visit had such an impact on his business. And then you see people who are brand new with their business. And I mean, how magical is it to find your next 10 products all at once? I mean, we know how long it takes people sometimes to build up to having 10 products figured out.
Yeah.
And you can do that in 10 days. Like, it's just craziness to me.
No, that's right. And I think, I mean, you see it in this business all the time. In any business, it's all about community. It's about support. And that's what you've got when you go to China Magic as well. So, you know, if you'd have coaching in any other part of your life, and no matter how big people get, I mean, you see people that make billions of dollars and they still got coaches in certain areas. So, yeah, it's just about having the coach that's specific to that. I suppose what you need to achieve right then, and that is the people that we take along to China Magic as well. So yeah, I feel like going by yourself as much as, and look, there is so much training out there now. As I said, supply negotiation was something that I learned on the first trip, that I was able to implement, and it scaled my business enormously. Now you can probably go, I mean, obviously we've got it within Titan. Light's done a lot of training about it external to Titan as well, so it's out there. But I don't think, you just can't be prepared enough going by yourself. I don't believe you're going to get as much value out of going by yourself and trying to navigate it and digest everything and not be able to have those other people, whether it's the attendees, the coaches, the mentors, that you can go and say, this happened, what do I do now? Like, just that instant feedback, and then you can get back on the ground again, go out the next day and sort of get the most out of your trip, because you take all of this time, like, it's a long time, right, to go over. And if you're going to take that time, you may as well get the most out of it that you can. So you don't want to be leaving China with sort of any loose ends. You may as well wrap it all up then, and then just get on to, yeah, rolling it out and implementing everything when you get back, and just, yeah, getting on with the rest of the stuff.
Love that. I'm going to just leave this one here. Hello, beautiful ladies. We're just going to go with that. But yes, this is the one that I should actually show. Great, great advice, babe. So listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate that you are so successful yourself and yet willing to give back and willing to help people and willing to make it happen the way that you do. I'm overwhelmed with pride with what we've accomplished as a group in terms of this trip to China. This is where Titan came from. You know, we really understood the power of mentorship. And to be honest, like, I'm so proud of Titan, the fact that we have it all year long. But being in a foreign country with people for 10 days, you can't get that level of deep work and connection any other way than that amount of time and focus. And I just actually had a lady sign up for China Magic yesterday. And she messaged me and she said, you know, I have 2 small kids. I feel very uncomfortable leaving them. What is your advice? And I said, listen, sometimes you have to make certain choices that then influence the rest of your existence, right? To me, China Magic has been that thing for so many people. And the amount that you get done in such a short time, you're not able to do that any other way, like in terms of finding the products, negotiating, developing the products out. So you're actually saving so much time that you could actually be giving to your children or to other things or to your business or to your goals or to yourself by going there and just fast forwarding, not just the China side, but also the business side, like you experienced, where even just that one thing they were talking about, PPC, and you tweaked one thing, and you started making $1,000 extra that started to build more and more momentum. And by the end of the month, it was some crazy amount just by finding a couple things that you may or may not have been able to do by taking the training and implementing yourself. Like, having that hands-on guidance, I think, made a huge difference.
It's huge. I mean, just quickly, and I know we're probably coming up to time, but yeah, I think we got to, when we came to China it was April 2019, obviously just for 7 days of the trip or whatever it was. And I think at that time we were doing, so April's sort of our sort of standard months. I think we were doing 50, 60,000 a month or whatever at that time. by going to China, sourcing new products there, learning about supply negotiations so we have better cash flow, and then obviously all of the other, the information we got from China Magic was absolutely insane. By December that year, we were doing $500,000 months. So, it's huge. So 10x the business. Now Q4 is the big one for us, but after that, January was still 500,000, and so it's just huge. Yeah, the difference was huge, and the support network and the people that you'll meet. It's just an incredible and highly.
My God. And
that was totally worth it for me to 10x the business.
Yeah, you think? Totally. And you also met a lot of your lifelong friends that, as well as Leiden on China Magic, which was a good find. You sourced yourself a man as well, which is great. But
it's true.
That's so funny. But anyway, look, I appreciate you. Most incredible people I've met. I really, truly, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate the fact that you do so much for so many when you don't need to. You've got your own business, it's successful, you've got your own kids, you've got your own things, but I really respect people that when they achieve success, they want others to have that same success. They want to bring people on that journey with them. For me, that's the kind of human being that I just love to be around and to connect with and to somehow, support in any way that I can. So thank you, Georgie, for everything that you do. And for those of you who, what, baby?
That I won't be here without you and your support and encouragement, and obviously connecting me with yourself and all the other amazing people within China Magic and Titan Network and all that sort of stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, I love that. And then just a couple last little tidbits. So you guys go to ChinaMagicTrip.com and schedule a call with us. If you can't make it to this trip, then you can start to put yourself on the wait list for April. But if you have a business that you want to just grow rapidly, do yourself a favor and just go out there. There really isn't a way for you to get that much done in that short of time. And you don't want to be surrounded by, any average people out there. You want to be surrounded by the best. And if you want to be surrounded by people like Kian, like Leiden, like Georgie, then this trip is really going to bring you that magic. There just isn't anything like it. So anyway, thank you again for everything, darling. Oh, just actually, this is really funny. You know how Georgie was talking about brand, or we were talking a little bit, come back and do a whole thing where we deep dive into these topics, because I think that would be a lot of fun. We can do some of these, but I'm actually drinking this, right? And it's water. Do you know this brand?
No, I haven't seen it in Australia, but I like it. It's cool.
Okay, so it's called Liquid Death, right? This is sparkling water, and all the different flavors are really funny. It's like chainsaw melon, and it's really random, but I actually like the way it tastes, and I just find it very amusing, right? And it's $1 billion company, right? All they did was repackage water. It's freaking water, people, but they just came up with something, and it doesn't even look like I'd be their demographic, right? It looks like it might be some dudes or something. I think it's hilarious. And so you can literally take something, package it differently, change the vibe, get some really interesting social media, get some influencers involved, and create $1 billion company out of water in the last couple of years, right?
Okay. I was staying at a hotel on the weekend, and they had this really pretty toilet paper, which sounds bizarre, but I was like, that's cool. I looked at what brand it was. I just ordered myself some last night, and that's toilet paper. So brand is everything.
Yeah. People are like, oh, it's so hard to get into Amazon now. I'm like, the guy is in Titan. He sells a pillowcase. It's a pillowcase. It's already growing. It's already past, I think, 7 figures. It's been in the last year and a half that he's grown this thing. He had one product, a pillowcase. It's not like you have to reinvent the entire world, but he made it sexy as hell, right? The packaging, everything about it. Everything was just perfect, right? So I think that this game is so fun. You can create anything, and why not be in a wonderland of where these things are being developed and finding things that you don't even know exist yet. I mean, it's so fun. So again, I can't wait for China Magic. Thank you, my goddess. I love you forever and ever and ever. You are just everything. And you guys definitely go to ChinaMagicTrip.com, schedule a call with us. Again, if it's not good timing, let's work on it. Let's plan it for the next one. But I just want you guys to win. I want you to have a beautiful life and to be able to be in control of that life. And I think that there's nothing more important than that, because when you have control over your finance, your location, and your time, then you're able to do whatever makes your heart sing. And I think that there's too many people, like yesterday was Labor Day, and I made this funny post about that because I love what I do, right? For me, it's never work. I love what I do, and sometimes I work 20 hours and sometimes I work 2. It just depends on the day. It depends on what's going on. But there's just so much freedom in that. And I think that more than anything, what I love about Amazon is that it allows us to have that freedom, and that freedom is priceless. There's nothing more important, in my opinion. If you want to take off to be with, a sick loved one, or if you want to travel the world, or if you want to be an artist, or if you want to impact people, or if you want to be lazy, or whatever it is. But it's just nice to have that control instead of being stuck to some mundane desk and live your life to somehow retire when you're 70 and be miserable because you missed out on all the fun times that you could have had earlier on when your children were still children, or when you were young enough to do crazy things. And so anyway, that's kind of where I wanted to leave this. Georgie, again, thank you for being on this live. We're going to come back with you and do more fun things. What are some topics that you think would be interesting for us to do?
Oh gosh, I mean, I love the whole influencer marketing, building an audience space, retaining customers as well, how you can do that in your business, which obviously, adds to the value of your business and makes everything easier when you've got the customers. And yeah, just creating that 5-star brand experience at every touch point. I find those things fun. So.
Ooh, I love that. Okay, guys, you can also comment below if there's specific topics that seem interesting, but she's just such a perfect, we were meant to do this for 20 minutes. It's been a lot longer than that. Okay, love you, babe. Thank you. Thanks, everyone, for being on here with us, and we'll see you on the next adventure. I think Lydon's going to be hosting tomorrow with Graham.
Correct.
And Graham had a massive, massive win in China. So you're going to want to hear how he did it, what he did to save himself $400,000 just in 1 year by going to China. Until next time. Ciao, baby.